The last thing I want is I just agree to do a subpar job because a client doesn't really care. And then they decide to care in 2 years and they look back at the history and they're like, this has been a mess. Like, what have you been doing? And because I didn't hold accountability to them. So they have to be as, again, in tune. Their books have to be as important to them as it is to me. They don't necessarily have to understand it, but they have to care about the quality of them.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a fantastic one. Our returning guest is the owner and founder of Springstead Solutions, Christina Springstead. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. So much fun to be here.
Yes, it is. It's great. You've been on the podcast several times, and I would say to our listener, be sure to go back, do the search on the app or on the website, search up Christina's episodes and give them a listen. But for those that are just getting to know you for the first time, maybe we'll start off with just a little bit of a background from you, and then we'll get into some deeper questions that we wanted to build on from previous episodes.
Perfect. So the very short summary of me is right out of high school, I went to school for accounting, thought I knew what I wanted to do. And a little bit into that, I was like, I don't want to crunch numbers all the time. Got out of it, went into all different industries, came back full circle. So I started this business right before COVID in 2020. I am foundationally in bookkeeping. I am also Profit First certified. I am pure bookkeeping licensed. I've been through the A2A program with Lisa Campbell, and I am working on niching in my business. So I have a passion for numbers. I love helping owners understand their numbers, and I have such a drive to be an impact where my clients won't be part of the statistic of people going out of business because of cash flow or not understanding their financials. So that is who I am.
That's amazing. And I just always love hearing all the pieces go really well together when you do that. You build systems in your business to give you freedom. You change your own mindset and thinking. You bring all together your accounting skill sets, your years of experience working with business owners, and then you put it all together in a package with Profit First, which is such a great methodology that really transforms how business owners manage the money in the business. And wow, it's a game changer. And I know from our conversations and through the community, you're one of those super successful at doing this work through all the years of experience. And that's kind of that, I don't know what they call, I think in Jerry Maguire, they called it the Quan in the movie Jerry Maguire. So you have the Quan, and Lisa has the Quan, the work she does, you have the Quan. And I'm just so grateful. I hope your clients get how lucky they are to work with you. I mean, and there's many of them like you in our community doing this work, but I would imagine even some of them are not fully crystal clear on how blessed they are to have found someone who can lead them through all of that, because the percentages are not good for those that don't have someone like you working with them to help them make sure that more money ends up in their pocket so they can fuel their life than not. So super glad to have you here, and super interested to learn what we're going to learn about today.
Yeah, I'm excited to catch up from last time I was on.
Yes. So first off, I think one of the areas that we were going to look at was what a cleanup session taught you. So there's, this topic comes up a lot, and I don't know that there's any bookkeeper that's never done a cleanup, right? Almost every first client is probably that, right? When someone gets started and it never goes away, and it's part of the bigger problem of business owners thinking they can do this themselves, and starts innocently, right? And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you've got real problems and serious financial consequences to these problems. So I'd love to go into that area. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So last time I was on, when I was re-listening, it was May 27th. So almost 5 years, or 5 years, 5 months ago. 5 years, 5 months ago.
Does feel like 5 years ago when it's 5 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially since 2 tax deadlines have just passed, right? So,
Yes.
and at that time I was talking about how I really found cleanups is probably a niche. And like you were saying, I think cleanups are part of everything, even if you don't want them to be, because bookkeeping can be done 100, get 100 bookkeepers in the room and at least 60 different ways of things being done, right? So I think everybody ends up with a cleanup scenario, whether you think you're going to or not, just getting books in line with how you operate. But I took on quite a few cleanups for the tax extension deadline this time. And what I thought was great is I had great systems in place for the cleanups, but still a couple of things caught me off guard. So I was able to even ramp up my current situation in looking for a cleanup. So some of the fun things I learned, and we're talking about, do you have a whole slew of things that you're going through when you're doing this health assessment, which is what I call it, or diagnostic review that a lot do. But a couple of things really caught me off guard, and they weren't on my checklist, although they were kind of on my checklist, but I didn't have a deeper dive. And it ended up costing me some time and hours and loss. So it was fun to go through those and really clean them up and then realize, ooh, this system still needs tweaks, which I think is always the case. So some of them were, we're always saying, make sure bank feeds are connected and make sure you know what the bank feeds are. And on some of these they were, but I did not stop to look and say, were there any gaps in when the bank feeds maybe disconnected and the client reconnected it? So I ran into one client who had several hundreds of transactions a month, and 3 months of data were missing. And so when I went to quote that cleanup job, there was 3 months of transactions not in there. So that was an interesting learning lesson. And then also, God bless those rules in QuickBooks, right? If you use those rules and them being set up for auto entry, which there were a ton, and I didn't look at how many had gone in there and how the rules overriding can really mess up something. So I ended up where the rules were set to override the memos. And when you're working off of a memo and a bank feed, once it's changed, you have to open up every individual transaction. So that was a real look to say, oh, I need to dive deeper into the rules, deeper into the bank feeds and timing. And then also, those great journal entries that you get from the CPAs at the year end, right? I was just checking, are they there? And if they're there, I'm like, great, they're there. Didn't really dive into what the journal entries were in the past as much as I should have, and found that that's really critical information, because I had the CPA bring me a client, and they had been doing the bookkeeping to get it tax ready for the last couple of years. And finally it caught up with them, and they got to the point, this is so far gone, we can't do anything with it. And I ended up looking at their journal entries and saying, oh, well, you've made journal entries to just make the books work for the tax return. But just because you take a beautiful throw rug and throw it on the floor doesn't mean there's not a complete mess underneath it, right? So I was a little more graphic. It's like you took a beautiful rug and threw it over a pile of poo, basically. And so had to undo even the journal entries. So it was quite the learning experience. And saying, even though I had a deep dive, there was even deeper dives that were needed to protect them and me and understand what was the time frame really going to look like.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Hey, bookkeepers, are you tired of juggling spreadsheets, chasing down receipts, and spending endless hours on client deliverables? It's time to simplify your workflow with Hub Analytics. Hub Analytics is the financial platform built just for you. We streamline bookkeeping operations so you can focus on what really matters, delivering high-quality results for your clients. With our easy-to-use tools, you'll save time, reduce errors, and gain deeper insights into your clients' financials. Imagine having all your financial data in one place with real-time analytics and customized reports at your fingertips. No more late nights, no more stress, just efficient, accurate bookkeeping that makes you look like the hero you are. Ready to take your bookkeeping to the next level? Visit hub-analytics.com to start your free trial today. Hub Analytics, where smarter bookkeeping begins. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. Wow, those are big ones. I'm curious now, those are, for any of our listener, whether they've done one or many, probably are hearing some new things or some new angles to think about it. How would you do it differently? Is there a way to, is it just you got to go in and spend that time to do the deep digging, or did you find ways to make this efficient for you for the next go round?
Yeah, so part of this was kind of in a checklist that I was doing. So one, make sure the bank feeds are up and accurate, but I didn't go and say, okay, what's in the bank feed? What's been posted? Am I missing any time gaps? So that was a new thing that is now on my checklist to make sure that I am making sure, because, just because everything's fixed doesn't mean if a client's not in their books for 6 months and then they realize the bank feed disconnected and they just connect it, the first option is just connect as of today or in the beginning of the month, and maybe you've got duplicates. So I had added that to my checklist for that paid diagnostic review that we talked about last time, right? Like, I am getting paid to comb through the reports, and this is just a couple extra steps I need to slow down and take time to look at in that diagnostic review to make sure I have a holistic picture of what's going on to give them accurate books when I'm done.
Very cool. Very cool. So it's a deeper process that you've now been able to build out for yourself, and that's going to protect you and give you better analytics into what you're actually dealing with.
Yes, absolutely. And a better understanding of time frame, because with those individual attractions that I literally had to open up because they had been overwritten, that added hours of time onto the job that I wasn't expecting.
It's almost one of those, I think, what is it in this country, or in most countries, I guess I should say, is what's that saying? Innocent until proven guilty. This is the reverse. It's guilty until proven innocent. That's almost the way you need to think about every cleanup, is where it's not. I know when we do boating out on the lake with my son. So he's 10, and I'm teaching him how to be on the lake best I can. It's a bit crazy because there's no lines on the water. So it's actually more things can go wrong than can go right on the water. And I said, like, look out there. Do you see any boats? And he's like, no. He's like, but there's a boat out there, Matthew. You just can't see it yet. It's like always that looking for you. There is a problem. You just haven't found it yet. It's that kind of mentality that helps bring that kind of scrutiny. Whereas often we think the other way. It's like, oh, this looks fine. They've probably done an okay job. It's more of, we lean to more of the positive side versus being very almost judgmental and, shoot first, ask questions later.
Well, I love that you said that, because and this is just a great thing for people coming in, but another one is, we're checking, does your AR on your balance sheet and your AP on your balance sheet match what the summary is, right? Like the total. And so you go be like, yes, this matches that. Well, that does not mean that the CPA didn't just put a journal entry against accounts receivable as the whole, right? But the customer has hundreds of invoices that are open that never had a payment applied to them, right? So your AR is technically correct because they've tied it out, but all of these open invoices and those journal entries don't tie against every individual customer. So even though the AR was correct in dollars on the reports, when you dove in deep into the customer line item, completely wrong. And so that helped me realize too is, you guys know we're trained if books are closed out for the previous year, right? Like, we don't go touch them. We make journal entries to fix all that. And I had to tell the CPA, I was like, I am going to undo what you've done, because there's no other way for me to tie these payments to these invoices to clean this up for the clients, because they couldn't use statements or just nothing was right. And you're just going to have to go back in and run reports and figure out what you need to do here. And in the past, I was so scared to do that because we've been trained, don't do that. But at some point, I want my clients to have accurate books to look back on historically too, right? And these fixes that you end up getting in those annual journal entries, they're not always pretty fixes, and they don't really create accuracy when you look underneath that rug.
It's beautiful. It's one of those things. It seems like a small issue today. In 2 years is a big issue.
Yep.
In 5 years, it's a bigger issue. And who knows how big of an issue it is at any time.
Yep.
But when you do it right, you do it once.
Yeah.
And that's often, I would imagine, you get a little bit of pushback from your clients. It's like, oh, do we really need to do that? It's like, really? And then in 5 years, they're like, well, we want to sell the business. So we need the, it's like, you know what? Nope, we can't. We got to go back and clean all that stuff up. People often don't think about or don't appreciate. They're like, well, we'll worry about that. I mean, I'm guilty as charged for doing that in all sorts of areas in life where it's like, oh, well, we'll get that, tomorrow or work on that tomorrow. Well, then you go, it's like, oh, wow, we should have done that. Now the cost is far greater in the future. And how do you deal with the pushback? I'm sure a little bit came from the CPA, maybe clients when you're doing this kind of work. I'd love to hear how you deal with that.
I actually proactively deal with it, and I haven't had a lot of pushback because I'm coming with the reasoning why it needs to be fixed. And exactly what you're saying is, at the end of the day, I don't know what your legacy is, but let's set this up for success. And working with Mike in Profit First, right? He's sold a couple of businesses, and what that process looks like is you can have a great business and you go in and someone's like, I want to buy your business for $1 million, right? But then when they start diving into your financials, their job is to find why your business isn't worth $1 million, right? Like their job is to bring the cost down. And if you don't have clean financials, that's not going to work. And like I've said, is you can find anyone who will just work with what you've got and do it in. I said that on my last podcast. I'm not your girl for that, right? Like I care about your books. I want your books to be usable to you as a business owner. And I'll ask the question, is this a hobby for you or is it a business? Because that's the ultimate thing here. If it's a business for you, these things should matter and we should want to fix them. And if you don't want to, that's totally fine. You can go somewhere else. And I think that gives them confidence in what I'm doing because they understand I truly care. I'm not just trying to like throw numbers in there and get them something. And if I don't have enough time, I will also say, we're not going to have enough time. You're going to have to talk to your CPA about how we handle this. So I've just been very honest. And although sometimes the pushback is they'll ghost for a little bit, right? And they'll be gone because I think they're processing like, I know what she's saying is right. We need to move forward, but it's that scare of investing in your business in that right part. But I actually haven't had a ton of pushback because I'm not just throwing a number at them saying this is just what it's going to take. I'm explaining why, as a business owner, why this should matter.
We want every listener to be like you, a great bookkeeper. And when you do that, not everybody will, not everybody wants to be, but that's what we're up to as well. That's what moves the dial in the economy, in the world, and communities is when businesses thrive. Bookkeepers are right there, front lines, and can make an impact on this, a very significant impact. And so that's where you can really understand this conversation of, it's like, if you do this now and you do it all right, and your business is worth $1 million, if you can maintain that $1 million versus having it erode 10 or 15%, that's a $150,000 swing.
Yeah.
And we're talking a pretty low price for selling a business here as well. So not only do they pay you, but they also, it's having, I think for our listener, it's to weave that into your mind. That's part of the context that you're sitting with is the future and how valuable that future can be. And if a person isn't interested, like you say, they're running a hobby, they have no interest in selling their business or having a business that's even saleable, maybe not the right client for you, like yourself. Now someone will want that client, but then, people get what they get. And there's so much value in actually getting it done and done right for both parties, right? You have a sense of satisfaction knowing you've done it well, but then from the client side perspective, for the right clients, not all clients want that, right? Some are happy to just be in their mess, right? But the ones that do, they need to know, can I trust this person? Do they know what they're doing? Yes, they're going to do it right. I understand the value. And that's a sweet spot where it's like, hey, we're all going to do good work here and we're all going to do really well with it, make good money doing it, and have a valuable relationship, both sides. And that's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. And I think it's normal because, again, what we talked last time is there's no barrier to entry to being a bookkeeper, right? Which is, it's good and bad. And so for those of us this is our career and we're legit bookkeepers, we're not necessarily side gigging, and there's no dig to a side gig. I started there too, right? But for those of us doing it full time, there are some entry, as you're coming in, you're just trying to get into the business. Those are ideal clients for people just getting started. They need to get their feet wet, is the clients who don't really care much about if their books are done. But as you're growing and you realize this is my career, right? Like this is not just a gig, but this is my career. You grow into wanting more of that for your clients, and you start recognizing if a client isn't about that. Because the last thing I want is I just agree to do a subpar job because a client doesn't really care. And then they decide to care in 2 years and they look back at the history and they're like, this has been a mess. Like, what have you been doing? And because I didn't hold accountability to them. So they have to be as, again, in tune. Their books have to be as important to them as it is to me. They don't necessarily have to understand it, but they have to care about the quality of them.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always perfect out there. It's a shifting landscape, right? It's like, the earth is the moving tectonic shifts always, right? In any business. How do you deal with those times where, oh, wow, we're not where we need to be with this particular client? Do you have processes or way of thinking about it that help you deal with, okay, it's not where it needs to be right now? What happens for you and your team when it's like that?
Are you talking about their financials are not where they need to be, or what particular part?
On your side, so if you have to do the work, right?
Oh,
And they come with you, they need things, they like client A comes to you, we've got this big mess, we need to get this fixed. There's all sorts of mounting deadlines and problems. As we've talked about, right? You found all this stuff. Often people will be, it's like, the person that tells you to wait, we'll do it tomorrow. Then tomorrow they're like, I need it yesterday. Right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So how do you, and I'm sure there's pressure that you feel, I know many people, and I'm thinking of a very special person when I think of, that, oh, we're not caught up on that. We haven't got there yet. It's like weighs very heavily on her. I'm sure it's not new to anyone to feel that pressure from both sides. How do you deal with that?
So I love that you said that, because I've actually recognized and been putting stuff in play based on that just recently. One is, again, with my clients, I have a very honest conversation. I think I've told you before, is I'm not just a vendor, I'm a partner with you. And I am a vendor, and I care about your stuff. But as with all good things, we get sick here, right? Something goes wrong and we can't report to work. We're entitled to vacation. Do you know what I mean? Like, all of those things happen here. And I have forgotten that before and said, oh, well, we're a vendor, so therefore 52 weeks out of the year, every single day that we've said we'd commit, we have to show up. But that's not really realistic, because we're entitled to all the other things. So I've now started saying is, hey, when we say we're going to work on your file this many times, some things might come up and we will make good when we can. But also, if we fall behind, we will get together and we'll either, one, let you know we're falling behind and why and what we need to help to resolve it. We will also make it good. Again, if something's out of our control, we'll come back and put extra time in. But I'm also recognizing is that just like onboarding an employee, when you bring someone in, right? If you onboard a partner, is it going to take longer than you think in your ideal world, right? So in an ideal world, 3 to 6 months from now, we're going to have everything done and it's it. But someone in your family might get sick. Someone in our, might get sick. You might have something going on. And so I'm just very clear is that this onboarding process is continually growing. And inevitably, they're going to forget to tell me something that matters. And it's not going to be real clear from the books. And so I'm telling them, just like onboarding an employee, you wish you could bring them on and they'd be up to speed, bring them on Wednesday and they'll be good to go on Monday and you'll never have to worry about it. Not realistic, right? So I'm very communicative with them. And if we're struggling in a certain area, hey, we've got stuff going on here and we're a little bit behind this week. So it's been open communication and honesty. And that has alleviated the stress. And also the recognition that at the end of the day, if you've been good about vetting and have a relationship with your clients, I didn't used to think that they valued me as a person and understood that life happened, right? Like, I just thought they didn't care and it was about the service. And that's not really true. Most of them are like, oh my goodness, take care of yourself. Let me know if there's anything I can do. And so I had to trust that the people I was working with, when I vetted them, that's really who they were. They were good people and we could work together, and flexibility counts. So that's really what I've done with me. And some onboardings have taken way longer than I or them would like, but because we're always making progress. So I'm also saying we're not where we want to be, but truly did we get something done, and document even those little things that got better so we don't forget.
It's beautiful. Communication really is it's the one that solves them all, right? If you
Yes.
communicate early and often, it's, it just puts everything to rest. I mean, I like to always bring it back to the construction because we all have to deal with tradespeople, right? At some point in our life, and they're all built very differently, and most of them are not good at communicating or timelines or any of that stuff. But when you work with someone who really is, you get to see that it's just like the why. It's like, oh, it's going to take. First of all, it's like setting expectations, having some accuracy, and when it isn't going to go that way, you communicate and you tell them why. It's like,
Yes.
oh, well, because I'm going on vacation or I'm going here. It's like, I told you it'd be this much, but because of this, this is why. Rarely, and what I think will happen for all of the people, I'm sure you've experienced this, is when you communicate like that, people automatically value you more.
Yes.
Because you're rare.
Yep. Yeah. And I tell my clients flat out, my goal is that you don't call me. Not that I don't want to hear from you and I don't want to talk to you, but my goal is you're not calling me because you're checking the status on what we're doing. My goal is we've communicated and you always know.
Oh, that's lovely. A great place to, a good mindset, I think, for that, and to have that as a personal goal. It's like, that's when we know we're winning, when nobody's calling us. I mean, I love that, right? It's like, you have what you need, it's there. We're going to call you, but it's going to be for something, a review, or it's going to be something that we need to do. It's not a fire to put out.
Yeah. Or even with some of my clients, because the ones that we're really on a path with is like, can we just check in? I'd just like to know how you're doing. You know what I mean? Even just to see your face and talk to your voice and remember that
problems?
we're people. Yeah, exactly.
It's getting boring around here. Those entrepreneurs, they're going to create problems if it gets too routine. Maybe that's a good segue into a client story around transition. I'd love to hear that one.
I have such a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have been working with a client for, briefly worked with them before, and then they had complete personnel transition. And so I came in to support during that transition. And we recognized there was a lot of things that needed to be cleaned up and things just weren't quite done correctly. And there was a lot. So nonprofit bookkeeping, right, is a beast within itself. And so once we recognized there was a lot that had to be done, we were diving into those journal entries. We were looking at audit reports from the auditors and realizing there was a ton that needed to be done and cleaned up before the auditors got here, which actually the auditors are here this week. So I'm very excited to see how this goes. But there's a board of directors too, because this is a nonprofit, right? And so where we started to where we've gotten to now, and we've been working together for a handful, probably 8 months, I think at this point. And going through and getting through every part of their accounting process, from payables to receivables to their balance sheet to their grant tracking. We finally have wrapped that up, and we're now in this second phase of audit. And what the board and the executive director have said is they are now like my walking billboards, right? And I think that's what I've told you is if I could get every soapbox to let everybody understand how important bookkeeping is, right? Because it's so discounted in so many people's minds, not everyone, but so many people. And it is lovely now that they're saying, oh, we now understand. I'm sending them recordings of their packet for the executive board and the treasurer so that they can see it from my point of view to pair with the treasurer, because a lot of boards, they don't necessarily have someone, board members don't always know how to decipher financials, right? And so there's a lot of bobbleheading, I call it, when the financials come, yep, approved, and move on, but they really don't know what they're approving. And this is just very common. And so now they're getting information from a qualified source, getting education on how to read these things. And this has trickled into other boards that they're serving on. And they are now saying, and I was like, I want bumper stickers, is bookkeeping is not a luxury, right? This is what they're telling everyone. I wish I could know. This is the one thing. And they are now going area to area and being spokespersons about how critical this is. This is one of the first foundational pieces you have to have. And I love that I'm able to help educate, right? That is also my goal, is not only am I giving you good books and you can do that, but let me educate you. So when you go and talk to your fellow entrepreneur friend who is having similar issues, did you know this about your balance sheet? Did you look at this, right? So now we're creating education to go out into the world to make bigger impact. And so that has been amazing and such a reward for what we do.
It's amazing. What a great story.
Yeah.
Great for you, great for the industry, and ripple effect. And it's so true. Like most people just don't have a clue, and especially a board of people. Like these people come typically with different strengths, and there might be one person on the board that might have a financial background or have some clue, but even that would probably be rare, that they would understand it down to that core level, because it is so, and when it's not done right, it's problematic.
Yes.
I love that. Bookkeeping is not a luxury, it's a lifeline.
Yes.
So last question is really around this last 5 months of growth, and maybe get into a little bit of that. It's such a wonderful story.
Yeah. So the last 5 months, just coming out of everything I was recognizing and niching. And last time we talked about my key employee who had left, and a little bit of, you had asked if I was going to be hiring to replace that position. I was like, I've got some PTSD. I hope down the road to hire a personal assistant. It was so much fun to re-listen because I actually hired and she started yesterday. And so I thought it was so fun to share with the community is when you're going in this business, that actually public proclamations of your goals, right? Ones that are like true to you to build this business that you want and desire. Obviously, who they work, right? I'm big into like manifesting what you want in your dream life, but it was so fun to see that in that hiring of that support system. And I would encourage all other entrepreneurs too to think about what does that really need to look like? Because shortly after our last podcast, I had a VA, a full-time VA, outsourced help with marketing. And so that has been a game changer and really helpful. And now this personal assistant that just helped yesterday, which has just freed up my mind to give me excitement about being able to work on the business and some in the business, right? So I can be in the business, making sure my on the business are all in line and dialed in. And so it's been fun to see the growth of one, the niching that we talked about, the cleanups, how to make that an even better process, better communication. They have all moved into monthly services discussions about how I can support the owner and how that best works for them. Understanding what pieces of bookkeeping I want to do and what do I want to actually help bridge and help them understand. I have taken the stance I am not doing any customer receivables portion of it because I don't know these clients' customers, and I'll never know them as well as they do, but I'll help them make sure the setup is correct and the reporting is correct. So since we last talked, all of that has come really full circle into fruition of having a full-time VA that I did not have when we last were here, and also a part-time personal assistant that just started, which has really freed me. So it has made me look at the idea of getting that support and help not so scary, because it's scary when you're cutting into your financials and you never know what the economy of the world is right now. And there's so many skeptics, about like the sky is falling. But at the end of the day, dialing into what we want. And again, I was building a business for someone else before, right? For that key employee to have enough. And now I've taken what I learned and I'm now hiring to build the business that I want and to support my lifestyle. So I just really encourage people to take time to stop and think about what that looks like, because your next hire might not necessarily be what you think it should be for your day-to-day stuff. And so that has been so fun to live out and see where I'm at. And again, listening, that is just literally under 5 months from when it last aired, and I accomplished what I had hoped that I would do at that time.
Amazing. So great to see your business growing, and it's wonderful advice for our listener, if they haven't, figuring out what you want your life to look like. And I think it's Jim Rohn who said, if you don't plan your life, somebody else will for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably butchering it, or not probably. I am butchering that quote, but the gist is there. And the idea is, if you don't have clear goals, clear plans, and a vision for the future, life is going to interrupt that and build whatever it sees fit. And life is filled with other people, and you might not like what they've got planned for you. So it's it's important stuff.
Yeah. And the reminder of the slippery slope we talked about too is, even in this is, even if someone else is not planning it, someone else might have ideas for you and you just gravitate towards them because you don't know what you believe, so you'll grasp onto someone else's belief on your behalf. So it's not even that they're planning it for you. You've just grabbed onto someone else's vision for you, even unintentionally, which is where I was at before. And so really encourage entrepreneurs to take that time to understand who we are, what parts of your business bring you joy, and free yourself up to be in that space of your business and hire for the other. So I read Who Not How and Buy Back Your Time, and those two were really pivotal in helping me really solidify working on that.
Beautiful. Two great books. And
Yes.
I'll throw another one in there if people haven't. I know, pretty sure, I think he's been on the podcast, pretty sure. But the book is called 3 Simple Steps. And it's about manifesting and written by a person who built like a multi-million-dollar pharmaceutical company and his story through life and how you create your vision and hold that very sacred and protect yourself from the external forces that don't want you to succeed, not in a negative way, but just in the way that, we often talk about friends that maybe you got a circle of friends that are happy where they are. And it's like, hey, if you're talking about going up another notch to the next level, it's like, why don't you just stay right on down here with us? Because we're happy and you'll be happy too with us. So it's a great book and there's magic in it. And it's like you say, the manifestation, you could try to explain that from a scientific basis, and then there'd be an argument for how that's not the case. So there's a lot of power in it, and it's hard to explain it, but when people get it and they see the results of it, it's really powerful, like you have, right? You dreamt up your life. And I mean, that's a good example right there. If people just stop right now and look around your life right now, that you created that. You manifested what you have today, everything that's around you. And so that's powerful. If you want to change it, you got to figure out how to do that, which starts with visualization for something different.
Yes, agreed. I'm so in there. And just even if you have a hard time grasping the concept, what we all, I think, can agree upon is how crazy complicated this is, right? Like this brain that we have, and the power is, I mean, we only tap into, what did they say, like a small percentage. So when you start focusing on how do you tap into more, really, I mean, it truly, I'm relaying the sky really is the limit, and it's so exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this has been another fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
From the gold about thinking about cleanups in a new way, and right here to the end where we're talking about visualizing a dream life for somebody, and that's all really valuable to us. And so I want to thank you on behalf of our listeners for coming. Now, before I let you go, if there's anything, if people wanted to connect with you or any resources you wanted to mention, I'd love for you to do that. And then, of course, we'd have those in the show notes as well for people.
Yeah, so springsteadsolutions.com, that's my website. All of my other, like how you find me on Facebook, Instagram, is all on the website there. And then also, if it's safe to do a little plug, is I'm doing a little cleanup training at the summit that you guys are having this year. So I'm really excited. So if people haven't registered yet and want to learn more about this and all of the other amazing things you have, that's a great place to find a training about this particular topic too.
Wow, we will allow a plug for the summit. I haven't been. So we've been doing a lot of work on the summit and a lot of work on the actual community platform that we've built for the summit. We've built it all, and it's very bespoke to our community of bookkeepers. And so we've added a Slack-like channel system in the community now, which is really, it's just brand new. We've been making some polishing to it, but it's really exciting because this summit is going to be a really new experience for how people engage with each other and connect with each other on the summit. And we talk about visions. Back when we started building this in 2020, the vision was always, bringing the community together in one platform, an ecosystem where it's all connected. So if you ask a question on a course or a lesson, it can be seen and found by the rest of the community and have intelligence as to what you're talking about and give you context. And so we have lots of learning on the platform. We have our virtual events that are growing, and we'll be doing more and more events. You can find all of it there when you go into the platform. And then as well, the community channels to be able to have conversations in a forum style, but more like a modern day forum that we've come to be used to, like Discord and Slack, but all deeply integrated with an event or a learning course. So I'm super passionate about it, and I'm excited for the summit. So you'll be one of the first speakers that will be in a brand new experience to engage with each other.
Well, I'm even more excited now.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you haven't signed up yet, sign up for the summit. And
you got to sign up for the summit.
Yeah. And if it's next year, sign up for next year's summit because they're just going to keep getting better. So.
We're just going to keep getting better. And we've got lots of other good stuff, lots of recordings from past events, lots of other. So if I say it every time, if you want to go get those resources, they're at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. And then, of course, please come and watch Christina do her talk at the summit. And the best part is it's free to come and attend and watch live. And if you want to treat yourself and get access to a bunch of other things with the summit, you can pay a little bit more and have that VIP experience.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. I talk about it all the time, but not typically on the podcast.
Yeah.
Which I should be talking about.
I figured there was a plug, but I'm super excited to be training. So I figured this is helpful. And if people want more information, it'll be a little bit more checklist to download and, kind of a little bit more true training in one session. So
beautiful. That's exciting. So it's a good teaser in this episode for something they can get and sink their teeth into and really get some learnings on it. Yes. Another great piece of gold. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, on behalf of our listeners, we thank you. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.